You are Locked On Falcons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Falcons Postcast, your home for the best Atlanta Falcons football talk. It's local insight you can't get anywhere but right here at Locked On. I'm your host, Tenitra Batiste. Alongside me are Jarvis Davis and Aaron Freeman. Today's episode is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. Our Locked On Falcons Postcast is also part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So guys, it's week 11, but it feels like week 7 all over again. And the front wasn't fronting yet again. We'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about the other front 5 that didn't give this offense a chance in a 38-6 loss at Mile High. So Jarvis, when we look back at our shows this past week, our Atlanta football party on Monday, and particularly also on Thursday, you expressed some concern about how this Falcons O-line would stand up against the Broncos defensive front. This is a Broncos defense that's top 10 in the NFL. Now we know, based on the score, who won the battle in the trenches, but exactly how did Denver do it?
I feel like this was a matter of they got it to the point where Kirk was just never comfortable. And to be honest with you, they allowed this Falcons offense to shoot themselves in the foot, because I think the biggest thing for me was the penalties, like the illegal motion by Drake, and to kind of nullify, a first down. And also when you have, the holding penalty, that got you down there right near the goal line with a chance to put it into the end zone with that on that Bijan Robinson run. It was just too many mental things. And you know what? I'm getting tired of saying mental aspects when you're going out on the road, when you just had a horrible loss against your rival and you're getting ready to go into a bye week. That is just unacceptable at this point. It's unacceptable at this point. And I think that, those things that they used against them, then you saw the things that I got concerned about come on later in the game when Kirk holding on to the football. What did I say? Don't hold on to the football because those guys can get home. And what he do? He held on to the football, and then he ended up throwing just a ridiculous pick, a just stupid pick. Like 2 orange jerseys over there. Why are you throwing that football? And I'm getting to a point where I am so close to saying something that as a football dude, I vowed that I never say that thing because I never want to get into the moment of things. I try to, take a very objective view and look at this team on a weekly basis. But man, it is so hard to kind of stay away from that moment because I can't take veteran quarterbacks turn the football over. And Kirk has been one of the quarterbacks to turn the football over, like one of the top guys in the league, and turn the football over. And it's just unacceptable. Unacceptable at this point in his career for this team.
And, Aaron, when you look at how this team played, like Jarvis said, it seemed like at the most inopportune moments for the Falcons, you saw them have some really, and when I say bonehead, it's because it's week 11. So to me, any pre-snap penalties are just unacceptable. And to see 6 penalties just result in 52 yards, I'm actually shocked because, man, Aaron, it felt like so much more. But I think it's because it was in those bigger moments, if you will. But again, going back to this O-line of the Falcons, what did you see in what Denver did or what this O-line didn't do for the Falcons that led to this conversation that we're having yet again about how a team was able to dominate in the trenches?
Well, I felt like the offensive line held up reasonably okay. I did not expect the Falcons to run the ball against the Denver Broncos. I'll say that. Like I just knew going into this game, they were not going to be able to run the football against them. They don't run, this offensive line is known for being a great run blocking offensive line, even though they can't convert in short yardage ever. So when they need a yard, they can't get a yard. So like that to me is not a great run blocking offensive line. But, I thought the pass protection held up reasonably until the game got out of hand. Like, I don't know if it was like Denver just dominating in the trenches. I just felt like there was really nothing the Falcons did on offense. Like nobody showed up in this game really at all. It was just like everybody was just ready, sleepwalking through this game in the bye week. So like, I don't know if Denver did anything up front to dominate this game. I just think they showed up and nobody else on the Atlanta Falcons showed up. And that's how they kind of controlled this game.
But how do you not show up? Like, are we talking about obviously we're not talking about all 11, but at what point did you feel like, are you talking from kickoff, first possession, where you sense that maybe this team wasn't exactly in it? Because you're saying, okay, not so much giving credit to the Denver front, but more so saying, hey, you guys really didn't come to play. So where did you kind of feel that sense of, what are we, not just, maybe it's not a sleepwalk, maybe it's a hangover from last week?
If I knew the answer to you, I wouldn't be sitting here talking.
Oh no. But my question to you is more of like, why? Like, where did you sense that? Like, was that from kickoff, or you felt like this was a flat game, similar to Seattle, where I think we all felt like with Seattle, it was a start to finish, flat.
Yeah,
flat.
It felt like that. Like it felt like, because you start with the opening drive with the Denver had on defense. You had 2 positive plays for the Falcons defense. You had they convert the third down, and then the Falcons defense does pretty much nothing else for the rest of that drive. Denver just marches down the field and scores, right? You have the Falcons offense come out, moving the football all the way to the red zone, and then you get those penalties. You get the holding call on Matthew Bergeron, and then you get the illegal motion on Drake London, and that basically takes 7 points off the board, so you have to settle for a field goal. And then after that point, like, nothing. You get nothing from nobody the rest of the game. Like, Bijan had like one nice catch. Like, Drake London had like one nice catch. You know, it was just like nothing positive else at that point. And just felt like the Falcons just were like, they didn't have it, and they didn't try to get it back at any point. Like, nothing from the coaching staff, nothing from the players. It just felt like they completely punted on this football game. They got outplayed from start to finish. And it wasn't, to me, like Denver was like really like, I can't wait to go back and watch the film, because it didn't feel like Denver was playing great football. It was just like Atlanta was just playing terrible football. It's like, I don't know.
That's fair. I at least say that on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, go ahead, Jarvis.
I want to add to kind of what Aaron said a minute, like, because they weren't even matching up with Patrick Surtain. He was just kind of, for the most part, he's kind of stayed on this side. He wasn't following anybody. He wasn't following around Drake. You know, if Darnell Mooney lined up on this side, that's who he was going to cover. You know, if they motion Mooney, you know, from the slot to the outside, that's who he was going to cover. It wasn't like, hey, 2, you take out 1, and then we're going to figure out the rest. Or you take out 5, and we're going to figure out the rest. It wasn't necessarily like this. So I don't think, like Aaron mentioned, just by thinking about how the game went, I don't think they did anything special. There wasn't anything there. They were like, oh my gosh, you know, because like I mentioned, the Falcons shot themselves in the foot from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like Denver was forcing them to do those things. It was just little things here and there, just mental stuff, pre-snap stuff. Why are you doing illegal motion, bro? You know you're supposed to, you can't be moving towards the line of scrimmage when the ball is snapped. That's day one football rule, man. Like, why are you doing that? What's going on in your mind that you're doing stuff like that? So I really feel this is worse than Seattle to me. This is much worse than Seattle, because in Seattle, we saw them make adjustments and the offense started to get some type of momentum, look like they had some semblance of a capable offense. This offense looked like crap after that, like Aaron mentioned, after that first drive, man, they looked like some boo-boo. It was just straight boo-boo out there. Boo-boo football is what we saw today. Boo-boo.
So,
well, at least Cool made his field goals, I guess.
Well, I was going to say, you just took the words right out of my mouth. Although, while we're talking about it, I got 2 things real quick. Special teams. Other than coup today, it was like Denver was having an absolute field day, saying, here you go, Bo Nix, I'll flip the field for you, over and over and over again. That's something also that I don't like. I feel like that's trending for the Falcons. I've seen that a little too much of late. That makes me uncomfortable too.
I agree. I've been thinking lately about Marquise Williams.
Yeah,
and
man. I hate to say it.
I'm a fan of Marquise Williams, but the special
Same.
teams has not been great this year. Raheem
Yep.
Morris, that he's not. They met the first time when Raheem got hired. So part of me is wondering, is if someone, it ain't Younghoe Koo's head that's going to roll for this, but the special teams has not been very good this year, and I wonder if Marquise Williams is going to be in that chopping block at the end of the season.
Yeah, real quick, wanted to ask you guys about. Oh, go ahead, Jarvis.
No, I was going second that motion. This because like we're at a space now where there are some things that Morris was able to carry. He met him when he got hired, and he carried him over from the previous regime. Now you're saying like, hey, this is one of those moments where I got to bring in my guy. And to be honest with you, we get ready to talk about that defensive side of football. You brought him in, and I have questions.
Yeah, and I have one more question for you guys before we wrap. We're going to talk about Jimmy Lake in a minute, but what about Zach Robinson in the game he called?
I was very disappointed. I was like, this to me, because like this game, the Chargers, Minnesota, these are 3 playoff defenses, right? I want to see what you have against playoff caliber defenses, because so far this year, Pittsburgh didn't look good. Philadelphia, the run game looked really good. Passing game really didn't do anything until the 2-minute offense at the end of the game. Kansas City, you didn't really get anything going against them. And we saw in Seattle, I know Seattle's defense isn't, elite or anything, but it's a competent playoff caliber defense with Mike McDonald. You didn't do anything that week. So we're looking at, against high quality defenses, we're kind of 0-4 at this point. I mean, we won the Eagles game, so I'm not going to 1 out of 4. Yeah, my math right?
1
out of 5. So it's not looking great. It's not looking great for Zach Robinson at this point in time when you put a good defense, and we got 2 more coming in these next 2 games coming after the bye.
I think that I feel like in that first drive, I think getting Ray McLeod involved, I like that idea, that concept, because you got guys like Patrick Surtain and the young man, the DEI hire of at corner. Sorry, guys, his name is slipped my mind right now. So
Riley Moss.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay. Thank you for saving me. So yes, Riley Moss was held it down over there. So I think that getting a guy like Ray McLeod, getting the ball in his hands, getting him in motion, getting him moving around to kind of get that defense thinking, I felt like that was a good start. But like after that,
it stagnated.
Nothing. It stunk. It stunk.
Yeah, stagnated and stinky. When we come back, we'll talk about the other side of the ball, because the front wasn't fronting yet again. We'll explain in the deep dive. This episode of our Locked On Falcons postcast is brought to you by Hillsdale College. So, time is our most precious commodity. Don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Well, you can think back to your earlier days of history, econ, the great work of literature. Remember you studied those things in school? Or okay, probably not. But even if you did, you need a refresher, I am sure. Time and technology have also changed a lot of things, but have not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, the free online courses, including Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and the Great American Story. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/locked-on to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/locked-on to register. hillsdale.edu/locked-on. This episode of our Locked On Falcons postcast is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And listen, as an experienced creator who understands an audience best, hey, this is what I want to tell you about. And that's Prize Picks. Because at the end of the day, we're getting close to the holiday season, and this is the perfect time to take advantage of maybe getting a little extra money. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports, and you can do that right here, California, Florida, Texas, and Georgia. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, you can go download that app, use the code LOCKEDON NFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app, use code LOCKEDON NFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Well, guys, now it's time to go to the other side of the ball where, Aaron, you might have had a little trouble with your math, but this math was never math in the day in Denver for this front at all. Got worked again, not getting off blocks, not challenging runners at that first level. I mean, what needs to be done? What can be done? I mean, what is it with this defensive front for the Falcons?
We're at the point of the season where, like, I don't even have any other words for this defensive front. Like, I'm at the point where I'm just tired of complaining about it. Like, can you give me a moment to complain about something else other than the non-existent pass rush? Can I get a moment? Because I'm watching this game and I'm watching this off coverage that the Falcons love, and they're just like, and it's like, I remember because again, that opening drive, right? That first third down, they got the Broncos in like 3rd and 9. And I'm watching them line up with 3-by-1 set. They got 3 wide receivers, Cortland Sutton in the slot. And I'm looking and I'm like, I can't remember to say whether it was Bates or Simmons, didn't matter. And they're like 15 yards off the ball. And I'm just like, it's going to Cortland Sutton. I know. And then they run a pick route. He catches it. And then, of course, Denver has no problem going down. Then we get to the end of the half. It's 3rd and goal at the 12. They run a screen pass. We're in off coverage. They get it. Okay. I hate it. But I'm like, you got that one. All right, Jimmy, we'll get the adjustments in the second half. So the very next drive, Denver goes down the field. It's 3rd and 7 or whatever it is, 2nd and 7 in goal. And Sean Payton's like, oh, they're doing it again? We're going to play off coverage again? We're just going to run a screen to a different wide receiver and do it again?
That's what I felt like too.
This like, again, the front is the front. They stink, right? We've known that for 11 weeks. They're not going to get it together. It's just been a conversation. We've been talking about it for 6 weeks. Like, can they get from 32 to 30th? Like, if that happens, great, awesome. You guys did incredible in the second half of the season. The secondary is being the thing that's going to hold this team. And when you're just basically just like, we're just going to give you 15 yards every single time. Yeah. And it's just like, you can't play this way with your defensive front. You have to disrupt the timing of these receivers at the line of scrimmage. And hey, Jimmy, if you don't want to play press coverage in between the 20s and you just want to bend all day, do it. Okay. I'm used to it at this point in time. But when we get into the red zone, my guy, like, what are you worried about? Like, you're worried about them throwing it over your head? Like, what are we doing? Get AJ Terrell, and especially when it's AJ Terrell. Like, I get it when it's Clark Phillips, because like Clark Phillips is a tiny human being, and like you don't want him pressing 6'5" wide receivers. But when it's AJ Terrell, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, this is what this guy does. Like, what are we doing? And so, I'm sorry, T. I just had to go on that rant for a little bit. That's really my main complaint with the defense, because I have nothing else to say about the Falcons pass rush at this point.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, because I was back and forth. I was watching the game partially and listening to the game. And I remember going downstairs thinking, if I hear one more time that the Denver Broncos called yet another screen, and if I hear one more time, oh my goodness, this wide receiver was wide open. The nearest member of the secondary was 10 yards off, 12 yards, 15 yards. I said, if I hear this one more time, I literally was just going to break, because like I said, there were times where I could just hear it and I wasn't able to see it. And it's like, the frustration is just overwhelming, because again, not necessarily the case that we can do much in the way of that front. But I mean, Jarvis, there are just times where you're like, okay, and we all said it, Okay, Jimmy Lake. It's Jimmy Lake transition. It's Jimmy Lake change it up, make adjustments time. And then it wasn't.
Free. Let me tell y'all something. One of the things that my coach has always told me, I know people might be tired of it, I don't give a damn. Like one of the most important elements of playing solid, good defense is down and distance. And that's not just talking to the players. It's talking to the coach too. If it's second and goal and y'all on the 10-yard line and you're playing 6-7 yards off, bro. Whoa. And your boys are backing up into the end zone. What do you think they're going to run? What do you think you're opening yourself up to? Like Aaron said, things get tighter down there in the red zone. So you have that to work towards your advantage. So here's what you do when you get in the red zone. Bring those cornerbacks down. It's okay. I'd rather them if they get beat over the top for 6, I'm cool with that, man. Because guess what? I don't like when the wide receiver gets the football, the defensive end with the red sleeves is out there just chilling, turning around, watching the play and spectating because he's not in the right scheme, so he can't make the tackle. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather it be a situation where the corner is right there up in that man's face fighting, trying to get off the block to make the tackle versus him backpedaling in the damn end zone, man. Like this is unreal to me. Like I'm not talking about bachelor degree. I'm talking about associate degree level type stuff. I'm not talking about no PhD stuff, man. That's because what Sean Peyton did wasn't PhD level.
True.
Like, if you watch the film on Bo Nix, this dude is not doing this. Once the ball is snapped, boom, 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 boom. He's not doing that.
No.
This man is like, boom, okay, boom. It's not there. All right, cool. I'm taking it off. You know, he's doing little rollouts. You know what I'm saying? One quick read. If my first read not there, I'm taking off running with it. He was leading the league. He was leading their team in explosive runs. What do you think that came from? Run the football. They were talking about it on the broadcast. Oh, we didn't know he was this fast. Oh my gosh, how much longer can we hide that he's not that great of a quarterback? Let's let him use his legs because people don't respect it. And that's how all of a sudden he just started playing better. Everybody's saying, "Oh, Bo Nix is this is great quarter. Oh, he's gonna be all good." It's because they know Sean Peyton is smart enough to know what that guy is capable of at this moment. And what he's capable of at this moment, quick read, getting the ball out of his hands. If they're playing off in the red zone, we're gonna throw a screen. It's simple. It's simple. It's simple, folks. And especially if you're playing off and you still figure out a way to get blocked, what do you think that says about you as a corner? Think about that. Think about that. If you're getting blocked and you're playing off on a screen and you're getting blocked, somebody goes 3 or 4 yards and doggone is able to get their hands on you and start block you long enough in order for that wide receiver to get into the end zone. What are you doing? What's going on? What were you thinking about this play? I promise you. These are the questions that are going to be asked on NFL Room. And to be honest with you, I turn around and tell Jimmy, I'm like, man, it's partly your fault, dog. You're culpable.
Matt Judon, you feel like Matt Judon was speaking the truth this week after today's performance?
Not when it comes to him. Not when it comes to him. I ain't gonna let him slide like that, Jack.
Okay.
I ain't gonna let him slide. When it comes to that type of stuff, playing off and soft, yeah, man. Like I get what he's saying when it comes to that, but I don't think that's what he was talking about.
Okay, that's fair.
I think he was just trying to justify him having 1.5 sacks. And you know, he's a known guy who's been able to get to the quarterback on a pretty consistent basis. Unless you're telling me you just old and I ain't got it no more. Which one is it?
He got a sack today, so you know.
Yeah, he did. On the bull rush.
That's something. That's something to you.
Well, that's good.
Give him a little credit. Give him a little credit, right?
We're
talking about the fact that Bo Nix looked all world today, and his coach had the nerve to say that he thought he was the best quarterback in this draft. But some might beg to differ to say the guy that got in at the 9-minute mark on the other side is actually that guy. We'll talk about it on the other side in What's Next. This episode of our Locked On Falcons postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL and America's #1 sportsbook. All right, guys. So right around the 9-minute mark, as I mentioned, in the fourth quarter, I guess Raheem Morris was kind of sort of waving the white flag, or maybe he thought he could get something jump-started. Because, 9 minutes is still a lot of time. You just never know. But ultimately, he and Zach Robinson decide to put Michael Penix in the game. And when we saw that, it was kind of one of those where you go, oh, okay. So he was 2 of 4 for 24 yards. That's modest. Got sacked once. Okay. But what did you guys think? And we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow because there might be some digging into it that we have to do on our Atlanta football party on Monday. But what did you think, at least initially, about him being put in the game, Jarvis, and how he performed?
It was time. The game was out of hand, and we know, you don't want Kirk. You don't want to risk Kirk, actually getting hurt by being in the game with no chance to win the game. I seen a smirk on Free's face. I don't know if maybe he wants Kirk to be hurt.
No.
Maybe he wants.
I'm just laughing at this whole situation. Continue, John. Go ahead. I'll explain when I get back. Just go ahead.
No, because here's the thing. This is given where the Falcons are. I think that. And I know people probably are going to, probably intimate that I probably want Michael Penix to be a starting quarterback for this team. I'm not necessarily saying that. What I am saying, I don't like the makeup of his team right now because it's a problem that is across the board now. You're allowing teams to come doggone just slap you in the mouth. You're allowing teams in your own house, on the road where you have been playing well and you haven't been playing well in these last 2 games. One was against a rival team who had just fired their head coach. So I almost was at a point where I was going to try to give him a pass, but I'm really not. I can't do that at this point because you knew what you were getting yourself into going into that game. And now go out and get flat out embarrassed to the point where Michael Penix is in the game. That's what I have a problem with. I have a problem with you having to, you conceding with more than half of the doggone fourth quarter, left in the game. And you're supposed to be a contender, and you're supposed to be a playoff team, and you're supposed to be running away from the South or running out the South, whatever the hell the doggone slogan is. I just, this is the frustrating part for me. There's one thing to get beat, but there's another thing to just get for somebody to just come in your house, take off their shoes, kick up their feet, and put their feet right on your doggone couch, and you do nothing about it. And y'all know how disrespectful that is in the African-American household. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No lies told. And Free, I think the frustration is, remember we were talking about this after Seattle, right? And we said, okay, one off, everybody is due to lay an egg unless you're going to go undefeated, right? So we push that aside. And then you look at what happened in New Orleans. Especially to me, it was an inexplicable pick at the end of the game. But ultimately, you got roughed up by the rivals. And you're thinking, okay, no new coach bounce. And you're thinking your rivals are always going to play up when it comes to you. But now this is the third time that we're having this conversation, because you can kind of even take the Steelers maybe out of this, because, I mean, somebody just let TJ Watt run free for an entire game. But if we look at these 3 games, you see some similarities, and that, I think, is disconcerting.
Again, feet on couch. Yes. This is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen this a lot this year. Feet on couch.
Yeah. And somebody was serving TJ Watt dinner at that point. I mean, it wasn't even just picked up on the couch. It was being served dinner and all of that. But when it happens once, that's a one-off. When it happens twice, maybe you give it aberration. But now we're talking about this happening really 2 times in a row. And we're talking about it happening 2 times in the last 5 weeks.
Yeah,
against the Seattle team I'm sorry, Free. I was just going to say, against the Seattle team that went right back to what it was doing, which was losing game after game after game after game.
Yeah. It last week against the Saints, right? They lost that game, but I felt like the Falcons outplayed the Saints. They just didn't make the plays that they needed to make to win the game, right? And so I came into this game feeling relatively good about coming off of that loss, where it's like, okay, like it's not like the Falcons made a couple bad mistakes in that game that cost them, but it wasn't as if like they laid an egg in that game. And so I came into this game thinking, okay, they're going to play well. Whether they win or lose will probably boil down to so many of these games. If they make the plays in the final 5 minutes, it's going to be a close game. And then to watch them just completely, just again, no show in this game was extremely disconcerting. And it's caused me going into this bye week. And fortunately, we have a bye week, so I don't have to worry about getting, how do they respond to this one? Like that's a week, 2 weeks from now conversation, but it's tough because like I was laughing earlier when Jarvis was talking about Michael Penix, just because like we're looking at 4 plays from Michael Penix, and like that's the one thing that we're going to talk about in this game, because there's literally nothing else to talk about in this game. It's like, hey, did you see that first throw that Michael Penix made? That 20-yard throw to Ray McLeod?
Made us do it.
And, it was Michael Penix. Yeah,
that's how bad this game was. We're looking at one play from Michael Penix and be like, hey, you want to talk about this?
Jesse Bates technically should have literally gotten the Denver Broncos to a 3-and-out, but of course, on that 4th down, it was reversed. But yeah, other than Jesse Bates doing his thing like he always does, kind of saving this team from itself, other than what we saw out of him, punching the ball out, causing the turnover on downs until it wasn't much else that was making us smile here on this Locked On Falcons postcast.
It's like Penix looked good on that one throw, and then he made a great throw to Casey Washington. Unfortunately, Casey Washington got injured on that play. But oh, dude, hey, you see these 2 throws from Michael Penix? In 3 years, we'll get like 20 of these throws in a game. Like, isn't that exciting? Like, that's it. That's the only thing positive to take away from this game.
I hate to make this analogy on a Sunday, but it's almost like, here's some of that good dope right here. It ain't came out yet. You know what I'm saying? Get you a little taste of it. Like, hey man, this ain't ready yet. Well, I'm gonna give you a little sample. Oh my God! Did you see
it? He was gonna say, I feel like we're going to get in trouble for that one. So I promise I thought he was going to say that, oh, your second wife is real cute. I mean, your first wife was okay, but your second wife is real cute. That's really where I thought he was going to go with that. Thanks to our everydayers for making the Locked On Falcons postcast your first listen of the day. Be sure to stop by the Atlanta Football Party Mondays and Thursdays, especially this Monday, for a double dose of all things Falcons. And be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also free and available wherever you download your podcasts. See you next time.